Hello everybody, and welcome back to Pow Bam Sing. My name is Carl, and today we're going to be going over this $350 to $380 budget system that I pieced together both new and from Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace to see just how much performance we can get for a small time budget. So let's start going over some of the parts that I got, and then we can get into building it and the Firestrike benchmarks and all the exciting stuff. This is the CoolerMaster Masterbox 5, the black version, obviously. I got this for $20 off of Facebook Marketplace, and it is, in my opinion, a really solid deal for this case. It's got a lot of features that you wouldn't otherwise be able to find on a brand new $20 case, such as very easily removable filters that you can use to just pop on the fans in the front, screw on the fans in the front. It's got a power supply shroud. It has a removable and replaceable to different parts inside the case hard drive caddy inside there. It also has tons of cable management space in the back, as well as well laid out 2.5-inch drive SSD drive mounts and grommets. I think it's actually got a sort of like a hard 2.5-inch SSD caddy in there as well. It's got replaceable and removable expansion card slot covers in the back, which is always a plus in case you need to take one out, and a bunch of other features such as a dust filter for the power supply in there. It's got two USB 3.0 ports on the front panel, so overall it's a really good deal, in my opinion, for this case. So I got that off of Facebook Marketplace. Next, I have the CoolerMaster Hyper 212 LED that I also got off of Facebook Marketplace. I picked this up for $15, and I think it's a solid deal for this. Something I did with this, though, is I painted the very top metal aluminum sheet black, along with the top of the heat pipes, to match the rest of my system. It was aluminum and copper otherwise. I'm sure you all are familiar with what the top of the 212, the Hyper 212 looks like. The LED version comes with a red LED standard front fan. It's not RGB or anything like that. So it's going to look solid and match the color coordination of this case. Next up is the EVGA 600 watt power supply, which I purchased new from Best Buy. In my opinion, it's not always the greatest thing to do to buy power supplies used, because you don't know where they've been, you don't know how the person has been using them, and it's a little bit sketchy. I don't know, it's a little bit sketchy to buy a power supply used. So the power supply I did get used for $35. It was on sale for like $20 less than normal at Best Buy. The Gigabyte Z270XP-SLI I picked up used off of Facebook Marketplace for $30. And that is a pretty good deal. Once again, this is all in my opinion. I'm sure you all have found better deals than this, but this is just my opinion on how these parts are priced, and the reason I picked these parts up is because I found them to be a good deal. This is the first part that I picked up that kind of spurred the onset building of this system. I picked that up for $30 for a motherboard that supports SLI, which I'm not even using in this case, and Crossfire. It's a pretty solid deal. So that's that. I mean, motherboard has four DIMM slots. It's got, what other things does it have? It's got 4 fan headers that can, one or two of them can also support a custom water block pump and everything like that, which I'm obviously not doing in a budget build. Maybe one day, but not today. Next up, I have a couple fans that I purchased new off Amazon. They're easy DIY, kind of just very generic red ring fans that probably won't last an extremely long time, but I've had good luck with I've had good luck with cheaper fans in the past. So and these fans look good and the reviews were good, so I took a stab at them. They were $5 each. I got 2 of them for $10, and they are PWM fans. I hope they're PWM fans. I think they're PWM fans at that, so they'll run quieter. Over there in the corner is my R9 380X I picked up about a week ago for $100. Graphics cards are still really expensive. People still think their graphics cards are really expensive, even though mining has kind of died down and some people are still selling their parts. People are still attempting to get out of their graphics cards what they paid for them, which in my opinion is a little ridiculous, and it wasn't what the seller did to me in this case. Well, I'd say did to me, but it's not what I purchased the graphics card for in this case. But you'll find that many people who are selling their graphics cards are still selling them at overinflated prices, which people like me who are looking for graphics cards simply aren't buying them for that. because you could just buy one new now for that price. Anyways, I got that for $100. I think it's a solid deal. It's not the best deal in the world, but it's the best that I could do, and it's aged fairly well. It's only 3 generations old at this point. So you have the 5 series now, the 4 series that came out a year or 2 ago, and the 3 series, which is that one. And it's the X variant of the 380, so it's got a little more horsepower under the hood. I have an i3 6100 that I bought for $70. It's technically $65, but I paid $5 for shipping. $70 off of eBay, and I went with the Skylake i3 instead of the Kaby Lake i3 because the Kaby Lake, being the newer model, had a little bit of a price premium that, in my opinion, didn't warrant the little bit of performance that I would have gained with the extra 1 or 2 megahertz that I think they tacked on to the 7100 versus the 6100. So I made a economical judgment call and went with the Skylake 6100. You can't see it, but sitting in front of the i3 6100 are custom red-sleeved extension cables for my non-modular 6100 watt, 600 watt power supply, so that the interior of the system is going to look fantastic. I'm extra excited about those, to be honest with you. I've never used sleeve cables before, and getting them in, they look pretty darn slick. This system's going to look really good. The rest of my system is red and black, has a red and black theme going, even the motherboard, even though the motherboard kind of looks yellow on the box. It's not, it's red and black inside. So I'm excited about getting those cables in. They were $22 brand new off of Amazon. Like I said, I haven't been buying all the parts brand new. My goal is to be as economical as possible. So the red sleeved extensions at $22 off of Amazon, not bad. They were cheap enough where I thought I could splurge and still get away with a under $400, $350, $380 budget system. Now, finally, oh, and the RAM. I forgot about the RAM. The RAM is another expensive part because RAM, just like graphics cards right now, are very expensive, even secondhand. I picked that RAM up. It's just G.Skill's very basic, sort of base model G.Skill Aegis RAM, 2133 megahertz for one single 8 gigabyte stick for $60 off of eBay. And I'm surprised I got it for that, to be honest with you. It was one of those best offer situations. So I'm surprised I got it for that. Literally could not find it for less than $60 anywhere else. Even if I drove 100 miles away to Orlando or to, even further to like Fort Myers or Miami or wherever they were selling it for $55, it wasn't worth me driving that far to pick up for something that could be shipped to my door for $5 more. I just got that in today, so I'm excited to put this system together because that was what I was waiting on. Now, the storage is where the system's going to, I'm not going to say suffer because, you're not really going to suffer through it, but this system has a hard drive, and I'll tell you why. Because in order to put your system on an SSD, you have to at least get 128 gigabyte. That's like the bare minimum to have your operating system on, because your operating system gets full pretty fast. That's not enough to maintain a system, especially with 1 or 2 games on it, for any extended periods of time. You're constantly going to be deleting content, re-downloading content, and that's not going to be beneficial for your SSD. You can put a hard drive in your system that has double or triple that amount of storage for half as much. It's just as functional, it's much slower. So the performance as far as speed and snappiness of the operating system is going to suffer, but the user's wallet is going to be much happier. So I didn't buy a 1 terabyte hard drive. I didn't buy a 750 or even 500. There's a 320 gigabyte hard drive going into this system. I know, I'm going to get a lot of hate for this, but at the end of the day, it'll hold your operating system, it'll hold a movie or 2, it'll hold your pictures and your documents and your downloads, and it'll hold a few games as well. And that means more to me, and I think means more to others, whether I'm the eventual user down the road or somebody else is, than a snappy operating system and something that boots up in 15 seconds. It's a judgment call I had to make. If I didn't make this and I put even if I put like a 256 gigabyte SSD in this system, it would have cost $100 more than it does now, or $50 more. than it does now. That would have put this computer around $450, $430 instead of, depending on which SSD you get, instead of $380. And when you can always add an SSD later if you want to by just popping it in the M.2 drive or throwing in a 2.5-inch SSD and attaching a SATA cable to it, the benefits of having an initial computer that runs and is able to hold some games in your operating system, albeit it may be slow, is the winner in this case. In this case. Okay. Anyways, I think that's about all about the parts. So that's a lot to take in. That was a lot of parts to go over. I'm pretty sure I'm done talking now. We're going to go ahead and build this thing and get to fun parts like benchmarks and frames per seconds in games and all that shenanigans you guys came for in the first place. So, let's go! So what kind of PC can you get for under $400? Well, as it turns out, not too bad of one. There were a couple hiccups that someone with the sharp eye may be able to pick up on, such as the graphics card no longer has the stock shroud that was on it before. For whatever reason, after doing some extensive testing with the graphics card and doing some benchmarks, I noticed that the graphics card was getting abnormally hot, like past 90 degrees sort of hot, which shouldn't happen with even the standard profile that comes loaded with the graphics card from the factory. It should be shutting itself down before it kills itself, and I was having to do that manually, which is never a good thing. So what I ended up having to do was take the graphics card shroud off and buying an aftermarket set of fans and sort of a mini shroud in of itself, which just happened to fit perfectly inside the slot of the aftermarket cooler, which came installed on this card and doesn't look too bad. Unfortunately, that also means that the fans aren't plugged into the graphics card, they're plugged into the fan header of the motherboard, and since they're not PWM fans, I have to control them through voltage through the BIOS because no aftermarket software will control those fans from the desktop. So there is that. The good thing is that the fans work very well, and I have an aggressive profile set up so that as the CPU gets hotter, the GPU fans spin faster, cooling the graphics card off in accordance with the system temperature overall. The CPU temperatures come in at around 50 degrees at their highest when gaming, and the GPU temperatures come in at around 75 degrees. That's where they level off. Not bad for the solution that I had to figure out due to the graphics cards fans not performing as they should. It had something to do with the onboard graphics card fan controller not working because no amount of driver updates or aftermarket software solutions or anything that I could do really would help the stock fan spin any faster than around 30%. So that was my final answer. However, everything else came together really well. I love the look of this system, and in my opinion, this is the best looking system that I've ever made. It outmatches the look of my much more expensive personal computer with a GTX 980 Ti and i5 4690K, which I have overclocked. I am shocked at how good a computer can look for under $400. And because I bought the aftermarket GPU fans, it ended up costing me around $399 instead of the $380 that I think I said in the first part of this video. So I'll run some benchmarks that you guys can see. Either it has been running or will run in the B-roll here in just a few minutes. And but yeah, it looks pretty darn good. It gets 60 frames per second in PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, 60 frames per second in Fortnite, and achieves a respectable, very respectable Firestrike score of around 7,500 points, just 1,500 or so points shy of being VR capable for less than $400, which isn't too bad at all. Overall, I am super pleased with this build, and I hope to do more of these in the future. Thanks for watching Pow Bam Zing, guys. I hope you have a great day. If you have any other questions, let me know in the comments below, and I'll do my best to answer them. Have a good one.